Good job they've got a pre-recorded one, isn't
Sam,
it?
is there anything I need to do on my beak?
Let's have a look. So you could do with maybe a little bit of a tongue, and sometimes the tongue is quite cute in a heart shape. So I've lost it on there. So you've got your diamond, you've got your square inside there, and then your heart is kind of sat at the bottom of it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Block that heart in white and dry it.
And then which red? Would I do make a pink red?
I would do the bluey red, because if you do the background red, it'll look like a hole going through to the background.
Yeah. Okay. Hmm.
And then Sharon, when your red of your tongue is dry, the top curvy bit of the heart needs to be darker to push it back in the tongue, and the bottom needs to be lighter to come forward. Okay, let's distract ourselves onto something else for the time being. Nice, easy job. With your small flat head into some black. And if you can pop in, you might not be able to see it on here, a black circle for a screw head. And if you give that a blast with the hairdryer for me. And you're doing that on each of your cross sections. And then with some yellow ochre and a little bit of white mixed into it, do another circle, almost like leaving an outline of black around it. And while it's still wet, with the back end of your brush, scratch through to describe the screw head. Just coming in close so you can see. Got that? Yeah.
Yeah.
What colour did you say to mix with the white? I was
Yellow
drying.
ochre. Yellow ochre. Each time I scratch some paint away, I clean the tip of the brush off with my fingers, just so it doesn't transfer back onto the painting. And then give that a quick blast. Give me the nod when you're ready.
I'm just doodling.
Ah, I knew it. I knew it. I can see the relaxed noodle look come over your face.
Absolutely. Does that tone look all right?
Yeah, brilliant. Brilliant. Okay, so we're going to come back to the fence in a minute, but I just want to put a bit of shading onto the danglies and the cone. So with a bit of burnt umber onto a dry, small flathead brush. And I'm just going to make sure there's not too much on the brush. I'll do it and then I'll bring it in close so you can see it. I'm kind of using the brush on the side like this. I'm kind of shading like I would with a pencil. So up and down like this. I'm doing it very lightly, and I'm catching all of the thick ridges of red paint that we painted earlier. So when you first do it, your heart will go, ooh, not like that, but bear with it. Smudge over. Might need to reload. Make sure you've not got any white on there. I'll bring this up close to the camera in a sec. Just do the danglies. And what this does is really exaggerate the texture of all that thick paint. So I kind of get it on, and then I get a wet wipe, and where there's an arc in the comb, a bump in the comb, I just pull back some clean spaces with the wet wipe. And then with a bit of yellow ochre mixed into the red, I'm going to do the same, but as a highlight, smudging in a bit of orange as the highlight on the comb. And you can be quite thick with this.
So, sorry, red and
Yellow,
ochre.
yellow, cadmium, sorry.
Right, okay.
I'll just bring this in up close in a sec. And initially that'll look quite frightening to you, but it does sink in. And it creates a really lovely, lovely texture.
Yeah.
Can you see that okay? Do you need more light? No, light isn't good. So that's it without. And that's it with.
So is the dark going on almost as a wash?
Yeah, but it's dry. So it's not a wet wash, it's a dry wash. It's a dry
So-
scrub.
You can also use like a deerfoot brush, can't you?
Yes, yes.
I find that better than doing it with your flathead. I make a
Yes.
mess. Yeah.
Yeah.
I got my deer head.
So just show everybody so they can see what you're using, what it looks like. It's like it's quite a stubby brush, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's like a little blusher brush kind of thing, isn't it?
Yeah. A very, very small. There's a bigger one now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's for all your combs and all your danglies.
Mm.
You can be quite bold with that orange highlight It can very nearly be yellow. Just needs to catch the curves, and it really lifts it for you.
About being a big fan of that and about just leaving care. And she said, "Did I have a job?" And I said, "No." And she offered me one. I helped out with this fast narrowing dates on Tuesday. I told me Evie used to do it when she was living at home. So it's a slight return of that. And I was pushed into do a bit of something. My babysitting kids a bit. Stars, all right. Brilliant.
Give that a quick blast.
You didn't ever play that game that those fans make about the black heart. I've only asked you because I did. A few years, just got really into the cartoon. Seeing as it was supposed to be made by Amazon. Where did maybe the social media.
Okay, so back to the fence, and you are now on your little skinny detail brush, and you need some white. So if you need to top up on your palette, squidge out some white, and if you could mix some water into that white, so you've got consistency of single cream once it's mixed together.
Going to go to the police. You live far from me. No.
Okay. So what we're going to do is describe the texture even more so on the fence panel. So I'm going to show you this upright first of all before you do yours. And I twiddle the brush to take the excess off, but also send the paint to the tip of the brush. And I'm starting at the screw head, and I'm very lightly working my way up. And I want to describe the grain. I don't want to do it in straight lines, otherwise it'll look like a bit of a humbug fence. And I kind of start to wiggle in thick and thin lines. So if it lifts off at any point, that's fine. And then if there's an opportunity at any point to get in a bit of a knot, I describe that as well by looping it over. I'll bring this in close in a second so you can see what I've done. And we're doing it in white first of all. One, so we've got the description, and then two, so once it's dry, we can decide whether we want to make our fences brown or keep them grey. And I keep describing all the knobbly bits. So the straighter your line, the newer your fence. The more irregular, the older the fence. Nearly there. So try to avoid doing straight up and down lines. And you could even splinter out some of the top of the fence so it doesn't look like a straightly cut piece of wood. And I'm just going to bring that in now so you can see. Got that?
Yeah.
Yeah. Take a picture if you need to, so you've got it for reference.
So we thinning the white down to sort of more liquid consistency. And I say more liquid because my white is ancient and very tacky.
Yeah, you want like single cream consistency, so it's got a really nice flow. So as you drag in your paintbrush up and down the fence panel, it's loaded and you're not dragging it dry. So we're going to do this across all of the fence panel. And I'll say the obvious just in case. So your uprights, you want your lines going upright, and your horizontals, you want your line going horizontal. I had a lady the other week who did them all the same way and then wondered why it looked a bit odd. And it's so easy to do something like that when you're nose to canvas. Oh. So I've done a few more. So once you've done that, give that a dry, make sure it's bone dry. And just nip into the loo while you finish that off. Right, are you all nice and dry?
Yep.
Yep. Okay, so now you might want to decide, do you want to keep your fence like that or do you want to tone it down a bit? It might look a bit too graphic. I think I'm gonna glaze mine, so a watery mix with paint. I'm gonna glaze mine a brown, a burnt umber. So bit of paint, bit of water. This is bone dry. If you do it when it's slightly wet, you lose all of that lovely description that you've just described. So swoop in, and because it's a watery mix, I can see underneath all of that texture. And what I can do with a wet wipe is just gently pull away a little bit here and there just to soften it and make it lighter on the top rung of that fence panel post, I should say. I'll bring that in close. I'll try and do that up close as well. So that's the effect. And then to do that, just wash in over the white and the black with a watery mix of burnt umber and water. If you go over something you shouldn't, just wet wipe it away while it's still wet. And I've just given that a blast with the hairdryer. So we just need to shadow that fence a little. Not too much. Little tiny bit of black on your small shader brush. And what I want to do is just push away that back section, and I do that by shading either side of the uprights. So I put a bit of a black line down like that, and then I'll smudge that black line into the horizontal. And more than anything, it's kind of pushing away the white grain description of that on that part of the fence. And dependent on how your fence is looking compared to your background, so it'll be different for each one of us, you might want to take a black line on the bottom line of the fence. And just blend that in. I would leave the top line as a bit of a highlight. If your background and your fence is quite dark, you might not want to do that. And I quite like doing a little half black shadow around the screw head as well. So not all the way around, just half. I'll just come in place. Okay, we're now at the stage where we want to be thinking about what else is going to be added to the painting. So sometimes I quite like to add a bit of a vine because it gives a nice bit of rhythm movement through the painting. Bunting would do the same thing. a bee with a bee trail would do the same thing. So tell me what you're thinking of, and then I'll figure out what I can demo for you.
I'd like to do a vine, if that's all right, because there's a few bits down there that might just need to be
Yeah.
distracted from.
A bit of strategic planning going on.
Yeah,
Yeah. And sort of a pastel-y green would pop beautifully against that background color as well.
yeah.
Yeah.
So I've got sap green. What other greens would you, or would I put something with that?
Well, I'd mix a couple of greens. So squidge out your sap green.
Yeah,
But why don't you make a green out of the yellow ochre and a blue that you might have?
right.
And then make another green with a bit of cadmium and a bit of blue that you have. So you've got different temperatures of green to play with. What else is anybody else thinking? Got any ideas?
I've got a gap,
Let's have a look.
which could probably do. It could probably do with a vine going through the middle.
Yeah.
That's my composition going a bit awry. Also, I've got a chicken that looks rather like an owl, but no one comment on that. So I've got a gap straight down the middle.
Yeah.
So I was thinking possibly some sort of insect,
Yeah.
ladybirdy thing on here.
Yeah.
Possibly something trailing across. I haven't quite got that far yet. I think
Okay.
something buggy here would look good because that seems to be where he's looking.
Yeah, or even like like a caterpillar with its
Yeah.
arched back, it's scooting along the fence. Okay.
Mine's quite nice kind of vibes. There's a bit of Northern Lights. Now you know what I'm like from Northern Lights. So I don't really an owl, the moon.
Yeah, yeah. How's
Creatures that
let
come
me
out.
have a look at what you've got so far.
That organ's being
Yeah, because it's quite dark, isn't it? And even if you just glazed a very thin bit of purple into your sky,
Mhm.
that would work well.
Element.
Yeah. I don't think you need vines in that particular one, do you? Because you've got the movement in the sky.
No, I don't think.
What you
A little.
might
What
want to do is a bit of spatter, like light, a lilac, a light pink, a light green, a light blue, almost sort of star-like, but very, very subtle.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't think I can fit any more animals in. But I mean, I could always put two little mises in the bottom
Yes.
as a little ode to the ones that my cats go for.
Yes. Oh.
Little mise popping up in the bottom, I think.
Okay. So, we've got a couple of you on vines. So I had a vine
Hopefully.
tip that gets us going on that.
Put it down.
Rebecca, you shout me if you get stuck on your mises. You can always chalk in whatever you're thinking of. So don't forget about your chalk. You can play around with those shapes and those different ideas. So for example, with a vine, let's have a look. I think this one's going to be running away, pulling it. So I'm going to curve it, stick it through its beak,
On track.
stick it up to that little chick. Then it's going to go down again. It's going to go under the fence post. And then I think this one is pulling the other side of it. That's quite a straight line at the moment, so I can afford to get a bit more loop-de-loop in. So I could take it behind the fence.
happy with people for it work.
Loop it around. And back through. That gives it a bit more movement. And then the vine would kind of have leaves coming off it, which can help. You know, you were saying, Sharon, you wanted to disguise a few bits along the bottom. That's
Yeah,
where your leaves off your vine come in. So I kind of get a sense of what the shape is. And then I mix my greens. And as I was saying earlier, greens out of a bottle are quite synthetic, quite artificial. So you've got yellow on your palette in terms of cadmium and ochre already. So if you squidged out a little bit of blue, immediately you've got two different greens there. So play around with those greens. If your green is looking a bit bright, remember you can desaturate it by adding a little bit of red to it. And if it's hard to see what color you're dealing with, add a bit of white to it and that will give you a tint of that color. The white will also make the green opaque, so it will stand on top of whatever we've painted already. If I was just going to do green out of the tube and the green was quite translucent, I would need to paint my vine white first of all. But because I've mixed white in already, I can go straight onto the painting. And because I've got a blue-green, it's going to be hard to see. So I'm going to really exaggerate it by throwing in the yellow and adding more white. And you can either do this on your small flathead brush or drop down to your skinny detail brush. And because you're going over chalk, it needs quite a bit of water to spread across the canvas. You might go a bit thick on your vine in some places, but remember you can use your wet wipe to make that vine a bit skinnier just by wiping a little bit away. Your leaves don't have to be traditionally leaf shaped, they could be heart shaped. So after I've done this vine, I'll do a bit of spatter just so you've got an idea of how that might look before you commit to it as well. And try and vary the size of your leaves. Don't just have them all the same size. Try and get a little bit of difference in there.
after the although no one point to pick her up. And he was the phone. So I think that well, right, living in the little family. The pure white cat was left up of the window to stare out across the estate, which was supercilious but human. According to Albert Record, you two that had insisted on looking at the baby, the grandmother for the past. Wally's sister worked at a local chemist, resembled her brother in being toe-headed and Scandinavian appearance. So she was voluptuous, where her brother was short, stocky, with brown blue eyes and full lips. Shah and Barclay had both independently formed strikes out of earshot of Robin and his heart. But they'd be happy to keep watching close parties for as long as it was. Not quite what the weapon was. Robin was sitting in the middle of a point on the name of the talk. He was right opposite after the actual product. He was relieved. Entailed a few more private chats before 28. He met a nice woman from where I used to live. Hadn't let them
How would you do mice?
Okay, so you at the bottom of the canvas, are you? Drawing something poking in.
Yeah.
I would probably go triangle first of all. Almost
Over
like,
the head.
yeah, like a guitar plectrum.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Then 2 big loops.
Eddie Fretwell reported to be looking forward to hiring multiple nannies for the kids she keeps littering. Once the hashtag ink black
And then
9:06 a.m. 4th of May 2015.
little nose.
Every enemy suspect under
And then
surveillance
from that nose, like
tonight
big
was
cheek.
work. Taylor Niven remained unwatched due to lack of personnel, although Sprite has decided to leave a new, carefully crafted message on the Niven answering the
Then just wipe those corners off just to sort of see what I'm playing with. Oop, lost it a bit. Little mouth, little body. And I'd kind of play around with that then. I think the arc of the head is a bit too wide, so I'd make that a bit smaller. Bring the ears in a touch.
Not convinced I'm happy with it.
Hold on a minute. What? Lost my nose. I'm making it a wee bit smaller. That's what I've got so far.
Okay. I might play with it later.
Sam, on the vine, when you're colouring it in, what greens would you recommend a mix of greens or blocking it out in one green and then adding texture to it?
Yeah, I kind of go with my favorite green. First of all, that's going to stand out from your background. So because your background has got quite a lot of green on the go, it might be that you need to make it slightly darker in your case.
Yeah, I've gone with an emeraldy style dark, which
Nice.
seems to
Yeah, get that base down, which is where I'm at now. And then I would highlight and shadow it. But I do it with a skinny brush, and I wouldn't do an outline over all of it. I would just pick certain bits of it to highlight. I'll show
Yeah.
it to you in a sec. No. And then with a bit of, I don't know, maybe white and yellow, that could be maybe a bit more light for me. Could be the highlight. If I bring that in close. Where is it? There it is. So there's bits of outline and there's bits of highlight on top of the base green. Right. Just looking for mouse inspiration for you.
I did on the bottom there.
Ah, yeah, to the side, yeah.
Do that worked, and then made their tails into a cute heart.
Very nice.
Whether it worked.
I think once you get the little nose on the whiskers, then suddenly they take form.
Yeah. And would you do them as in like block it in white and
Yep.
then
Yeah,
whatever colour I'm choosing to go?
yeah, I'd block it in white. I don't know if it's gonna go a brown or a grey. That would be your second layer. And then
Yeah.
shade it and highlight it from there. Make its inner ears pinky.
Uh-huh.
So you would maybe leave that bit white so your pink is nice and clean. And then back end of the brush for tiny black eyes. These vines can take longer than the bloody chickens, I'll give you warning.
Not that I'm splattering yet, but how would you do the
Okay.
splatter?
Move anything precious out the way. Um, with your color background, because it's dark, I would go for like pastel-y colors. So you've got purples and blues and greens in there out on your palette already. So just use up those colors by adding a bit of white into them. I'm just doing that now. Even the red might make a nice pink for you. Just need a bit more white. Okay. So I've mixed a bit of green for mine with a bit of white. I've got my medium flat head brush loaded with a really healthy mix of water and paint. And then what you want to do is you want to flick it using the width of it, not the side of it, the width of it. Start furthest away so you can control how heavy the blob is going to go.
Mhm.
And then sneak up on it. I'll bring this in close in a sec. So you'll get an idea of how close or how far you want to be. Don't worry about it going over everything in terms of your painting at the moment. But if it happens to splatter a bit of your chicken that you don't want it to splatter, just wet wipe it away really quickly.
Okay.
I'll just do another colour and then show you. It adds just a nice bit of atmosphere, I think. So there's a few spatters. I don't want it on there. Wet wipe that way. That's all right. Can you see that on there?
Yeah.
Very, very subtle. I'll just get my other one, which has dried already. That's probably more, that's sort of the lighter.
Okay. Yeah. Fab.
Well, I got a couple of minutes to go for a wee, Sam.
Of course you have.
Thank you.
You haven't been holding on for ages, have you?
Yeah.
Oh, I quite like doing the spatter and then wiping it off the fence. So it brings the fence to the foreground.
You were right about the vines taking forever. I should
Yeah.
have got a little paint pen. I think that would have been the fastest I could have doing it.
Yeah, they do take a while.
Oh, that's a weight off my mind.
Oh, good. What stage are you at with your painting? Oh, nice big leaves bunched together. That's really nice.
Thank you. Do you do
Have-
anything else?
I'm just thinking, have you got any gold leaf?
Yeah.
You could gold leaf your screw heads.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I'll do that.
Are you spattering? Are you going for it? Or are you on mouse? Oops, sorry.
Mouse. You'll know when I'm spattering because my camera will probably have some spatters over it.
Oh, excuse me. So in a couple of minutes, I'll just show you a finishing touch, which is up to you whether you want to use it or not. Sometimes it just finishes things off quite nicely. So we'll do that in a couple of minutes. And then Sharon, you can use your back end of your brush to scratch through your gold leaf for your
Okay,
head.
yeah.
If I was going to put a feet in, am I
Yeah,
just aiming for a sort of oval with ovals?
And
It's very technical on a Sunday afternoon, wasn't it?
let's do a B together.
Just think it needs something else in the middle.
A little top of something. Right. Where can I stick B? I'm going to stick mine up here. So a small flathead brush, a little black oval, and then make that oval fluffy just by dragging out that wet paint using the side of your brush. It'll look like a squashed bug at this stage. Something like that.
Okay.
Get that dry. So I'll just dry that. So if you do your black spot.
So far, splattering has got me pink fingers. So, and nothing on the canvas. What am I doing wrong? You're on mute.
It sounds like you need a bit more water in your mix.
Okay.
So it's got travel distance from the brush to the canvas, you know. A bit ping power.
So thinner than cream.
Yeah. Yeah. Try that.
Get more pink fingers. Oh, there we go.
Ah, fabulous. How's that bee? Fluffy bee.
I have a fluffy black blob.
Excellent. Is it dry?
Nearly. It's still a bit tacky in the centre, but he's mostly done, I think.
Okay, I'll show you the next stage. So on your skinny brush, what you want to do is stripes curving around the body. And I kind of fluff those out a little bit, not too much, just so it's not straight up and down stripes. And it's important to sort of curve them around the body, otherwise it looks like a humbug if you do straight up and down. So that looks like that.
Okay.
Yeah. How does the gold leaf look, Sharon?
Really cool.
Oh, that's nice. That's just given it that little lift, hasn't it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Brilliant.
I'm really pleased with it. Thank you.
And your chicken legs, do they need any more detail or are they all right as they are? I can't quite see.
Well, I've given him. He's got
Oh,
some curry bits on it,
yeah, yeah.
and they have no wrong way.
Oh, yeah.
just-
Yeah,
I
that
put some Need defenders on them because they're having a fight.
Ah. So you're there, aren't you?
I am.
Well
Do you know,
done.
I've waited years for this, so thank you.
Oh, you're very, very welcome. Okay. Stripey B. Yeah. So while you've still got white on your brush, you want to add the wings. I'm just going to come in close to do this so you can see it. There we are. So the wings are like one loop and then another loop. Almost like a disjointed heart. And while that outline of the loops of the wings is still wet, just with water, a little bit of water, soften that outline. So it's almost like a translucent coverage. Like that.
I'm on mute saying okay, which is not much use to you, is it? So
Oh, don't worry, I've been playing that game a lot today. And then back end of your brush in the white and give it 2 little tiny eyes like that.
okay.
And then get that really dry. Ooh.
I think with some of this stuff, I'm worrying so much about using too much paint. I'm not using enough paint. It's drying before I've done my smudgy stuff.
Oh, is
Smudgy
it?
stuff. That's okay. Lesson learnt for the future. Stop being afraid of using too much paint.
Oh, absolutely. Get it on there. Then you want to colour your white stripes in yellow ochre, first of all. And with a little bit of burnt umber, just give it a bit of shading on the undercarriage. So you might put the burnt umber on, wash it off your brush, and then just waft it into the yellow ochre.
You know, when you were at uni, Sam, did they use the word wafting?
They don't, and I've been saying it and they've not picked up on it.
Just not on, is it?
I don't think it's academic enough for them,
You nearly finished now then?
Yeah, 12 weeks to go and then done. 3 years done. Yeah,
Wow.
I know.
Well, you finished your dissertation then?
Yeah, I'll share that at some point. I want to get through January and tax return and all of that serious adult stuff. First of all, before I sort of give an update on uni. But yeah, dissertation done. Had a bit of feedback about it last week, and the tutor really liked it, but didn't give away what grade it was or anything. So we'll have to see. And yeah, I've got 4 modules to complete in the next 12 weeks, which I'm just going to go to town on really and have good fun with it. And then I've got to think about, I could go down the master's route and do a children's illustration course at Cambridge, which is kind of like your route to be published, you know. Or I could go down the research route and follow through what I've been talking about on my dissertation, which I find quite interesting. So two very different routes, really. So I need to have a think about that.
Which way are you swaying at the moment then?
Well, I think if I went down the children's illustration picture book route, I'm joining a lot of people who are doing a lot of the same thing. Whereas if I went down the research route of how can picture books help people with a brain injury, I feel that's more useful, if you know what I mean.
And less people.
Say again, sorry.
And less people doing the same thing.
Yeah, definitely. So less competition. So it's back to that niching idea again, you know. It's so important if you want to do this commercially, if you want to do this as a business, you do have to think about what you stand for. And I think by just joining the big pool of people who illustrate children's books, as lovely as it is, I think it's very much you become a pencil for hire rather than, you know, the process being important or
well, there's an awful lot of people that have injuries. You know, mental health is so high at the moment that, you know, and so many different children that have got different special needs.
Yeah. So with the bigger picture of things and, you know, big dream of moving to the Highlands and all of that, I'm checking out Glasgow's School of Art, seeing what research masters they have as a possible route. So this next 12 weeks is part of it is figuring that out as well. So yeah.
So why the Highlands? That's so far away from having people close to you to do courses and things. Are you going to give the courses up and just do them?
No, I'll probably I'll do them as online as I have been doing, and I might travel to do a few like I used to do, but not as many. And I might dependent on, you know, what we buy and where we are, it might be that I do less workshops, but they're more 2-day, 3-day retreat type workshops, and they're annual. So, you know, people sort of take time out to come and do them rather than them being every other week or whatever they are at the moment. So yeah, a lot to consider really.
And that's a good thing, because I've been looking to do a weekend away just painting, and there's not that many around that I've found.
No, and I find the ones that are advertised, they're typically advertised through a travel agency, and I'm not kidding, they're the price of a car for people, you know, like 4-5 grand. And they might be in Italy or Spain or wherever. And I know I could do something that wouldn't cost the earth for people. Obviously, they'd have to travel and they'd have to find the time to do it. But I think all in with the notice that I can give people and the lovely community that we have, I think it's possible. Yeah. So it's maybe about less of a churn of workshops, but more significant workshops and maybe more in depth as well. So maybe less how to and more about developing style and developing technique and developing process. And I think that way that might put off the beginner artists I worry about. So maybe I need to keep the how-tos online, so that's still a nice engagement. But the longer ones need to have more content about them, more in-depth stuff, you know, a little bit like how we were approaching the colour workshop. And
And the cohorts, the 6-week cohort.
yeah, exactly that. Yeah. How's that bee coming along?
He's good. He's just getting his final yellow, which seems to be looks pretty cute. He's supposed to look cute. It kind of looks like the chicken's chasing him, which was kind of the idea, but not really. But that's sort of how it's ended up.
That's what we'll go with then. And if anybody asks, it was by design. When you've got a steady hand, stick 2 tiny black pupils in his eyes.
I won't leave that till the very end of my day.
And it could be that you do a bee trail, which you could draw in chalk. And if I just show you a second, you can decide on this whenever, but a bee trail sort of loop-de-loop to the bee bum, and then back end of the, what do you call it, brush, back end of the brush into some white and dot, dot, dot all the way along it.
Okay.
Oh, sorry, you can't really see that from there. It's
So
going.
it's got a bit of movement to him.
Yeah. It depends how hectic and busy your painting is as to whether you need that or not. You might not need it because you've got a nice rhythm with your vine. Just open the curtains. Oh. Right. Let's have a class photo. Do you want to stick your paintings up for me? That's it.
Need to do a wee bit more shading on my vine, but it's not dry yet.
Okay.
Otherwise, it's there, I think.
Brilliant. All right, I'm just coming in. Got ya. Well done. Thank you ever so much, everybody. We've just finished a little bit ahead of time, but that's quite a few hours working at a computer screen, so I hope you're not too square-eyed. You can keep working into those vines and describe the highlight and the shadows, and you could even add vines that are in the background as well. Maybe with a sort of more grey green, so they're not as obvious, but they kind of add a bit of depth. So that's something quite nice to do. Your bee trail you might add as well. And then another thing just to check, I think you've all been working on the flat rather than the easel, so you might not have this problem. But if you've been stuck on something, make sure you haven't stuck to it and peeled away from your edges, and you just need to touch that up, because while you've got your colours out on your palette, it's useful to do that there. But well done, everyone.
Thank you.
Very well
Thank you,
done.
Sam.
That's all right. It'll take me the evening just to edit this and upload it. So it'll probably be tomorrow that you get your email with the link to, and it'll appear on your platform as well, with the link to either watch this again or watch the stage by stage pre-recorded one. So if you were fancying doing more chickens, adding to your little coop, then the stage by stage one is probably handier to watch, because I film it from above, so I can zoom in on various sections as well. Okay, but well done, well done.
Brilliant.
Have a
Thank
lovely
you.
evening.
Thank you.
Take care.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.